So, for whatever reason, you wanting to leave the country you're living in now and have done some research and have decided to move to Portugal. The first thing to know is that you actually don't need to buy a property to get residency in Portugal. If you've got a rental contract, like a proper rental contract, that will suffice. You don't need to have all the money in the bank to be able to buy a property. Another thing to note is that you don't have to have a job offer to be able to move to Portugal. You can apply for a D7 visa, which is if you're getting a pension or if you're working online and you are getting private income that way. So this means you just have to have proof that you are getting in for a single person the 740 euros a month, and if you have a dependent, I think it's 50% of that for a spouse and 30% of that for each child or dependent. So you've just got to show that you are getting that amount of income in regularly each month. You don't actually have to have a job offer in Portugal. So the next thing is going to be to work out your budget and how much you're going to want to spend on accommodation and for your general day-to-day expenses. Once you've worked that out, you can start thinking about, do you want to live next to the coast or are you prepared to live inland? Remembering that the cost of living at the coast is way more expensive than the cost of living inland. This comes to your accommodation. Accommodation inland is really quite cheap. Along the coast, it can be pricey, especially in the tourist areas. Although there are places you can still find quite cheaply within Lisbon, generally you are looking at spending a lot more along the coast than inland. Just take, for example, when I stayed in a hotel. When I stayed in a hotel in Castilla Branca, that only cost 20 euros a night, as opposed to if you are staying at the coast, you can be paying between 50 and 100 euros a night. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea. Another thing to think about is the climate. Although Portugal is quite a small country, the climate is not identical over the whole country. And there are some places, especially along the coast, especially northern Portugal along the coast, the climate can be closer to the climate of the UK. So that is something to be thinking of as well. Inland, it does tend to get hotter. The rainfall during the summer over the whole of Portugal is not common, but they do have some wet months. So you've got to think, are you wanting to live where it's going to be cooler, or are you wanting to live where it's going to be hotter? And then you have to think about, do you want to live in an apartment or do you want to live in a house? And if you are looking at houses, yes, you can get cheap houses inland, some that only cost 10,000 euros to buy a house, but then you're going to have to do quite a bit of maintenance. A house that costs 20,000 might be more cosmetic repairs that you have to do rather than serious building repairs. But you aren't going to get a ready to move in house for that price. You are going to have to do quite a bit of work, and definitely would have to repaint it because it will be a bit old-fashioned. And you have to remember that some of these houses have not been lived in for quite a few years, and they definitely have had no remodeling done. But, some of them have a lot of potential. And when you start paying a little bit more, when you start paying like 40,000 or 50,000 for a house, they definitely are more livable. You can buy a plot of land to build on as well, but you also have to remember that if you are looking at the route of buying a farm, a lot of those farms have been abandoned. So there is a lot of work to do there, and some of the buildings on the farms are just agricultural buildings. They're not actually houses to live in. So you've got to make sure, if you are buying a farm and you're wanting to live on the farm, that you do have a habitation license. If you're buying a farm next to the coast, you're going to pay about 10 times what you would pay inland. But this farm that I'm showing you now, this is going for 40,000, and I quite like that house. Look inside, it's definitely quite livable. So you can get bargains, but you just have to be on the lookout for them. So now you have a bit of an idea. You can make a plan. You've made some big decisions, and it's time to start putting together a checklist. Moving to another country is a really, really big decision to make. I've moved to quite a few countries in my lifetime. So get on with putting together a checklist of all the things you are going to need to do. That's really important. And I'm going to be making more videos about the whole process of moving to Portugal. So I will have some more detailed videos about the visa process and organizing shipping companies as I go through that process myself. So that's something to look forward to. Otherwise, I post videos twice a week, on a Wednesday and a Sunday if possible, and I post videos about recipes, my journey to buying a farm in Portugal, now my move to Portugal, and all the research that I'll be going through, I'll be sharing with you as well. And yeah, subscribe, like, comment below, and hit the notification bell to be informed when I post new videos, and I'll see you on my next adventure. Keep safe.